You know that common phrase, trust your gut? We use it all the time, right? For intuition, that feeling deep down guiding decisions. But what if that idiom, holds a much deeper scientific truth, a real connection between our feelings and this bustling microscopic world inside us? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into the really fascinating and I think increasingly critical field of gut health. And we're zeroing in on the gut microbiome. Picture of this, not just like random cells, but a complex miniature ecosystem, a whole universe living in your intestines. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. So our mission today is to really unpack the science of this inner world. We'll look at its, frankly, surprising influence on everything from mood to chronic diseases. And importantly, we'll get into practical steps you can take to nurture it and maybe peek at what's next, future interventions. Expect some surprising facts, actionable stuff to help you understand and support your health. Think of it as a shortcut to getting really well informed on something vital. Okay, so let's unpack this then. When we say the gut microbiome, it sounds complex. What exactly are we talking about here? How big is this internal world?
That's the perfect place to start because, it's way bigger than most people imagine. The gut microbiome, it's the collective name for trillions, literally trillions of microorganisms living in your intestines. So think bacteria, over 1,000 different species, but also viruses, fungi, even some parasites, all living together.
Trillions.
Yeah, the scale is just staggering. Up to 100 trillion individual microbes. That's roughly 10 times the number of human cells in your entire body.
10 times. Wow.
Exactly. And while it's this incredibly diverse community, bacteria are really the dominant players. They make up well over 99% of the inhabitants. So, mostly bacteria, but we can't forget the others.
Okay, 100 trillion, 10 times our own cells.
Yeah.
That's just hard to get your head around. It really highlights how much is going on inside us we don't even notice. And you mentioned different kinds of bacteria. Who are the main players in this inner world?
Absolutely. Within that huge bacterial population, there are 4 major groups, or phyla, that are really dominant in healthy adults. You've got firmicutes, bacteroidetes, actinobacteria, and protobacteria. Think of them as the big families making up most of the population. Now, within those families, it's really important to distinguish the types. You've got your functional, beneficial bacteria, the ones we often call the good guys. These include really abundant and crucial species like bacteroids, Clostridium, Bifidobacterium, and Lactobacillus. They're like the essential workers keeping everything running smoothly.
The good guys, okay.
Then you have what we call opportunistic pathogenic bacteria. Now, these aren't necessarily bad all the time, but they can cause trouble if, say, your immune system is weak, or if they just multiply too much and throw off the balance. Examples are Enterococcus and Enterobacteriaceae, kind of like guests who might cause problems if things get out of hand. And finally, there are the true pathogenic bacteria, like Salmonella or certain types of E. coli. These usually come from outside, maybe contaminated food, and they produce toxins that can make you sick. So the key thing isn't just having good bacteria, it's maintaining this very specific, delicate balance between all these different types. It's all about the balance.
It really is like a complex city then, with different roles and neighborhoods, not just a simple factory. We usually hear about gut bacteria helping digest food, but it sounds like they're doing way more than that. What other sort of incredible jobs do they have?
That's a really critical point. Their jobs go way, way beyond just breaking down your food. They're foundational to our health in so many ways. Firstly, yes, they do help digestion, especially with complex carbs and fibers. Our bodies can't break down alone, think tough plant fibers. But they also play a huge role in producing essential micronutrients for us.
Producing nutrients, like vitamins.
Exactly. Vitamins like B1, B9, that's folate, B12, and vitamin K. And you might think, small things, but deficiencies in these can have massive impacts on everything from energy to brain function to blood clotting. Our gut microbes are literally manufacturing vital nutrients inside us.
That's amazing. I didn't realize they actually made vitamins for us.
And beyond vitamins, one of their most important jobs is producing short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs. These are compounds like acetate, propionate, and especially butyrate. SCFAs get produced when the bacteria ferment that dietary fiber we mentioned. They eat the fiber, basically, and produce these beneficial byproducts.
Okay, and what do these SCFAs do?
Their function is critical. They literally feed the cells lining your gut, giving them energy to stay healthy and strong, but their impact is wider. They help reduce inflammation throughout your whole body and regulate your metabolism, keeping blood sugar stable.
Feeding our gut cells and reducing inflammation body-wide, that's already huge. What else are they up to?
Oh, there's more. The gut microbiome is a major active regulator of your immune system. It acts like a frontline defense, competing with pathogens for food and space, stopping harmful bacteria from moving in.
Like a security force.
Pretty much, yeah. A neighborhood watch for your gut. They also make powerful bioactive compounds, like antimicrobial peptides, think natural antibiotics like lactobin A and terracin that directly fight harmful microbes. And one more thing, they can even modulate the production and secretion of bile acids. These aren't just for digestion anymore. We now know they're important signaling molecules in metabolic processes all over the body. It's a constant, complex orchestra of activity.
It really is an orchestra. So with all this diversity and complexity, what does healthy actually mean for a microbiome? Is there like a gold standard, or is it more personal?
That's a really insightful question. And yeah, it's definitely more nuanced than a simple checklist. A normal or healthy microbiome isn't just a collection of purely good bacteria. It's more like a dynamic mix, a constellation of both beneficial and potentially problematic organisms, all living in a kind of balance. And it's not just bacteria. Fungi and viruses play roles too, making it a whole interacting ecosystem.
So not just bacteria, fungi and viruses are important too.
Yes, they're part of the picture. And the real key to a robust gut isn't necessarily having specific superstar species, but rather the diversity of species present.
Diversity. Like in nature, a diverse ecosystem is stronger.
Exactly like that. Think of a healthy garden or a rainforest. Lots of different plants and organisms supporting each other, breaking things down, changing the soil, making the whole system resilient. A diverse gut microbiome generally bounces back pretty well from short-term disruptions, maybe a minor illness or a brief dietary change. It can often revert to its original state quickly.
Okay, so it's resilient if it's diverse.
Right. But the challenge comes with prolonged exposure to modern stressors. Things like the typical Western diet, lots of food additives, environmental contaminants, and especially frequent antibiotic use, these can cause chronic, lasting changes. These persistent shifts can favor the growth of more virulent or pro-inflammatory microbes, potentially leading to negative health outcomes down the line.
Right, the long-term stuff is the problem.
Precisely. Now, clinically, a pragmatic definition of a healthy gut might just be the absence of diagnosed diseases like IBD, IBS, celiac, GERD. But, the World Health Organization defines health more broadly, complete physical, mental, social well-being. That suggests gut health goes way beyond just not having a disease. It's more holistic, impacting our overall vitality. And it's worth noting, even typically good bacteria like lactobacillus can cause problems if they overgrow in the wrong place, like in SIBO. So it always comes back to balance and function, not just names.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, and probably for a lot of listeners. This idea that our gut talks to our brain and vice versa. The gut-brain axis. It's more than just a gut feeling, right? How does this communication actually work? It sounds almost like science fiction.
It is fascinating, isn't it? And yes, the gut-brain axis, or GBA, is a very real, very powerful two-way communication system. It's not just one pathway, but a complex network. One of the most direct routes is the vagus nerve. You can think of it like a major highway, running directly from your brainstem down into your abdomen, connecting right to your gut.
A direct line.
A direct line. It transmits signals both ways, brain telling the gut things, but crucially, the gut sending signals up to influence brain function. We've seen in animal studies that cutting the vagus nerve can block certain behaviors caused by gut bacteria changes. It's vital. Plus, your gut has its own extensive nervous system, the enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain. It's complex.
Second brain, right.
Yeah. And while it has some independence, it's constantly chatting with your central nervous system, your brain, and spinal cord through this gut-brain axis.
So the gut has its own brain and a direct line to the main one. That's wild.
Yeah.
And you mentioned gut microbes influencing neurotransmitters. Can you break that down?
Yes, it's truly remarkable. Your gut microbiome directly produces or influences the production of neurotransmitters, the very chemical messengers your brain uses for mood, appetite, sleep, cognition, everything. Get this. An estimated 90–95% of your body's serotonin, that key mood regulator, is actually produced in your gut by special cells, and its production is heavily influenced by your microbiome.
95% in the gut.
90 to 95, yeah. It's staggering. So what's happening in your gut can literally affect your serotonin levels system-wide. And it's not just serotonin. Gut microbes also play a role in producing other critical ones like GABA, which promotes calmness, reduces anxiety, and dopamine, vital for motivation and reward. Your gut is basically a chemical factory influencing your mental state.
A chemical factory. Okay, so it's nerve signals and neurotransmitters. What else connects the gut and brain?
Well, the GBA is also deeply intertwined with your body's hormonal and immune systems. A key player here is the HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. That's your central stress response system.
The fight or flight system.
Exactly. It controls the release of stress hormones like cortisol. Now, here's the feedback loop. Chronic stress can really mess with your gut environment and its microbes. But then, your microbiome can actually modulate how reactive that HPA axis is, influencing how much cortisol you release when stressed.
Whoa, so stress hits the gut, and the gut influences the stress response back. A cycle.
Precisely. A cycle. And there's an immune angle, too. Bits of microbes in the gut, like pieces of bacterial walls, can trigger immune responses there. This releases signaling molecules called cytokines. These cytokines can travel through your blood, cross the blood-brain barrier, and directly influence brain function, contributing to what we call neuroinflammation. This low-grade brain inflammation can affect mood, thinking, and maybe even play a role in neurodegenerative diseases. It's this constant, dynamic conversation.
It really shows how interconnected everything is. So, translating this, what does it all mean for our mental well-being day to day? Can our gut really affect our mood or decisions, maybe even more complex behaviors?
Oh, absolutely. The impact is profound, much more than just a fleeting gut feeling. Research strongly suggests the gut microbiota actively influences our behavior, even our decision-making. Imbalances, that dysbiosis state we talked about, have been linked to things like increased impulsivity and changes in cognitive functions. The connection is so compelling, actually, that researchers are even looking into how microbial influences might relate to complex human behaviors, including those seen in, say, the criminal justice system.
That's quite a leap. Gut microbes in the criminal justice system. How does that connect?
Well, think about the high prevalence of mood disorders like depression and anxiety among people in the justice system. Since we know the microbiota gut-brain axis is deeply involved in regulating mood, stress, and impulse control, it raises the possibility that interventions targeting gut health could be valuable, complementary approaches alongside traditional mental health treatments for these individuals. It suggests a really holistic view. Maybe a healthy gut is an overlooked factor in supporting mental stability and potentially reducing things like recidivism.
That's a powerful thought. Addressing physical gut health could impact behavior.
Exactly. It highlights why stress management is so critical. Chronic stress worsens gut imbalances, potentially fueling that cycle of poor mental health and maybe even problematic behaviors. So even something fundamental like ensuring access to nutritious, gut-supporting meals in places like correctional facilities could genuinely improve well-being and contribute to rehabilitation efforts. It just underscores how deeply our physical gut state and mental state are linked.
That makes so much sense, a truly inside-out approach. So a healthy, diverse microbiome seems essential for, well, pretty much everything. But what happens when that balance goes wrong? What's the term again? And what are the immediate knock-on effects?
Right. When that balance gets disrupted, the term is dysbiosis. And it's usually marked by a few key things: a loss of those beneficial microbes, a drop in overall diversity, and often an overgrowth or bloom of pro-inflammatory or potentially harmful organisms. This imbalance is a major driver behind the breakdown of the intestinal barrier, that protective lining of your gut. This leads to what people commonly call a leaky gut.
Leaky gut, we hear that term a lot. What does it actually mean for the body, and why is it such a problem?
Good question. Imagine your gut lining as a very selective gatekeeper, like a fine mesh, letting nutrients through but keeping toxins and unwanted stuff out. Leaky gut means that mesh gets damaged, becomes more permeable, so microbial components, maybe bits of bacteria, undigested food particles, toxins, they can leak across that barrier into your bloodstream where they don't belong.
And that triggers the immune system.
Exactly. It triggers inappropriate immune responses systemically throughout the body. This increased intestinal permeability acts like a central hub, turning local gut issues into body-wide inflammation. And that inflammation can then drive disease in totally different parts of the body. There's still some debate, is dysbiosis the cause or the result of disease? But the evidence increasingly points to the self-feeding loop. Inflammation causes dysbiosis, which then fuels more inflammation. It's a vicious cycle.
A vicious cycle. Okay, that paints a clear picture. A local problem spreading systemically. So what specific health conditions, what diseases are now being directly linked to this gut imbalance, to dysbiosis? It sounds like the list could be long.
You're right. The list is growing rapidly and covers a surprisingly wide range of chronic conditions. Let's start with metabolic and cardiovascular diseases, huge issues globally. Take obesity, for example. An imbalanced gut can seriously impair how your body absorbs nutrients, regulates blood sugar, even how it stores fat. This can lead to unintentional weight changes. There's even research, pretty compelling stuff in preclinical models, showing that transferring gut bacteria from an obese individual can actually transfer obesity. It suggests a direct microbial effect.
Wow, transferring obesity through microbes.
Yeah, it really highlights the power of these microbes. And our immune system is involved too. Certain immune cells have sensors that interact directly with gut bacteria, showing how deeply linked gut bacteria, immunity, and metabolism are. It's not just calories in, calories out. It's how your microbes influence the processing.
Okay, so obesity. What about heart disease and diabetes?
Right. For heart disease and diabetes, certain less desirable gut bacteria contribute by producing a compound called TMAO, trimethylamine N oxide. This stuff can build up in arteries, contributing to atherosclerosis or plaque buildup. High sugar diets are particularly bad here. They can decrease beneficial bacteria, reduce diversity, and ramp up that systemic inflammation we talked about, a known precursor to heart disease, cancer, and diabetes.
And what about artificial sweeteners? I hear conflicting things.
That's a really important point. Studies have shown that artificial sweeteners like saccharin, sucralose, aspartame can actually cause glucose intolerance, sometimes even more significantly than sugar itself in certain people. This effect is strongly linked to changes they induce in the gut microbiota's composition and function. So, yeah, it could potentially increase type 2 diabetes risk. Sugar-free definitely doesn't automatically mean gut-friendly.
That's a crucial takeaway about sweeteners.
Yeah.
Okay, moving beyond metabolic issues, how does dysbiosis directly affect the gut itself? GI disorders.
Absolutely. Dysbiosis directly weakens the gut's defenses, making you more susceptible to infections. And then there's SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. SIBO is a specific type of dysbiosis where bacteria overgrow in the small intestine, where they shouldn't be in large numbers. This often happens if gut motility is slow, letting bacteria from the large intestine creep up and multiply, causing symptoms like bloating, gas, pain, diarrhea.
Right, SIBO seems increasingly recognized. What about IBD?
Yes, inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, which covers ulcerative colitis, UC, and Crohn's disease, CD. These are serious autoimmune conditions where dysbiosis isn't just associated, it's practically a diagnostic feature. It's a hallmark. IBD patients almost always show significantly reduced microbial diversity compared to healthy people. They often have an enrichment of less common, often pro-inflammatory bacteria groups.
So specific patterns in IBD.
Yeah, we often see increases in firmicutes and sharp decreases in the protective Bacteroides. A specific beneficial species, Faecalibacterium prausnitzii, is often dramatically reduced so much, so it's considered a potential biomarker for Crohn's, UC, and even ischemic colitis. Meanwhile, you might see increases in others like Lactobacillus sakei in Crohn's, Ligulactobacillus ruminus in UC, and Enterococcus faecium in both. Even certain fungi, like Candida albicans and Malacitsia restricta, are implicated in some IBD cases. It shows the whole ecosystem is involved.
Fungi too, interesting.
And a critical factor in IBD is the mucus layer lining the gut. A thick, healthy mucus layer is vital. It's a physical barrier. If that layer is thin, maybe due to genetics like variations in the MUC2 gene, the gut lining gets exposed directly to microbes, triggering inflammation. This is also where pathobionts come in. These are normally harmless gut residents that, under conditions like inflammation or dysbiosis, can suddenly start promoting disease. They turn problematic.
The pathobionts, turning from friend to foe. Okay, that paints a dark picture for IBD. What about IBS? Irritable bowel syndrome. It's so common. Is that also tied tightly to the microbiome?
Absolutely. Irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, is incredibly common, and the gut microbiota is definitely a key player. IBS patients consistently show signs of dysbiosis-altered diversity, shifts in bacterial populations, often specific to their subtype, like constipation-dominant IBS-C or diarrhea-dominant IBS-D. Common findings might be more firmicutes and fewer bacteroids, or maybe an increase in proteobacteria. It shares some patterns with IBD, but usually less severe.
And how does that translate to symptoms?
Well, the microbiota in IBS is linked to abnormal gut motility. The constipation or diarrhea, plus that low-grade inflammation in the gut lining, and importantly, visceral hypersensitivity. That means the gut becomes overly sensitive to normal stuff, leading to pain and discomfort. We also see immune system imbalances at the gut lining, like more inflammatory signals and more active toll-like receptors, which are like immune alarm bells constantly ringing.
Given the inflammation link, what about celiac disease? We think of it as gluten intolerance, but does the microbiome play a role there too?
That's a great question, and yes, it does. Celiac disease, CD, is fundamentally an autoimmune reaction to gluten. Genetics are key, sure, But environmental factors, including maybe viral infections and definitely gut dysbiosis, seem to play a big role in triggering it or making it worse. Celiac is often associated with fewer beneficial bacteria, like certain anti-inflammatory bifidobacterium species. There's even some research suggesting certain gut bacteria might mimic gliadin, the problem protein in gluten, or even work with gluten, like Pseudomonas aeruginosa, to ramp up intestinal inflammation in susceptible people.
So bacteria might worsen the gluten reaction.
Potentially, yes. The microbiome also heavily influences gut permeability, maybe through releasing proteins like zonulin that affect those tight junctions between gut cells. And remember those SCFAs. Gut microbes make them, and they're crucial for keeping the gut barrier strong. A lack of SCFA production could worsen barrier issues in celiac. And just to be crystal clear, even though fermentation happens in sourdough bread is not safe for people with celiac disease. The gluten is still there.
Right. Very important clarification on sourdough.
Mm-hmm.
And any links to other intolerances or broader autoimmune conditions?
Briefly, yes. Some broader food intolerances, like lactose intolerance, might be caused or worsened by poor gut bacteria quality, as specific microbes are needed to break down lactose. And we're seeing dysbiosis patterns in wider autoimmune disorders, too, like lupus, SLE, and systemic sclerosis, SSC, with altered bacterial ratios. It really demonstrates the far-reaching impact of this inner ecosystem on our overall health, well beyond the gut itself.
That's a truly sobering overview of what can happen when things go wrong in the gut. It really drives home how foundational this ecosystem is. So, okay, the empowering part. If we want to cultivate a thriving gut, what can we actually do? What are the practical, everyday steps?
This is where the science becomes actionable, which is great. There's a whole range of lifestyle habits that directly support a healthy microbiome, and many are things you can start doing right away. First off, and maybe surprisingly high on the list, stress management. It's absolutely critical. Remember that gut-brain axis. Stress directly harms the gut microbiome, shifting the balance. Even simple things like meditating for just 10 minutes a day can help relax your mind and body, reducing that negative impact. Also, maybe getting a massage weekly, professional, or even self-massage can boost neurotransmitters like serotonin, supporting that gut-brain connection.
Stress first, okay. What else?
Next, prioritize sleep quality. Aim for a cool room, ideally between 64 and 69 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 1821 Celsius. Good sleep isn't just for your brain. Sleep loss negatively affects the ratios and diversity of your gut bacteria. They need rest, too.
Cool room for sleep, got it.
Then, medication awareness. Be mindful of overusing anti-inflammatory drugs like NSAIDs, ibuprofen, naproxen, and opioids if possible. Chronic use can really disrupt the microbiome balance and potentially increase gut permeability.
Okay, medications. What about basics like water?
Absolutely. Hydration is fundamental. Drink enough water and fluids based on thirst and activity. It helps digestion, maintains the gut's mucus layer, and prevents constipation, which messes with gut function.
Makes sense. Caffeine, good or bad?
Caffeine moderation is generally wise. Coffee can have some benefits for some people's microbiomes, but too much can cause dehydration, digestive upset, and disrupt sleep, all bad for the gut indirectly. Maybe limit to 1-2 cups, ideally before noon.
Okay, moderation is key. Anything else lifestyle-wise?
Yes, don't forget sunlight exposure. About 10 minutes of direct sun daily helps your body produce vitamin D3. Vitamin D is increasingly linked to supporting gut microbiome function and gut immune regulation. If you live somewhere with little sun, definitely consider talking to your doctor about vitamin D3 supplementation.
Sunlight for vitamin D. Interesting connection.
Mm-hmm. And finally, just reinforcing the basics. Regular physical activity, good sleep, and effective stress reduction are universally beneficial for gut health. They work together to create a resilient internal environment where your microbes can thrive.
Those are fantastic practical lifestyle tips. It really shows how interconnected everything is. But diet feels like the most direct route to influencing our gut microbes. So what does this mean for our plates? What should we actually eat to nourish them?
You're spot on. Diet is probably the most powerful lever we have. The absolute best way to maintain a healthy, diverse microbiome is to eat a wide variety of fresh whole foods, mainly from plant sources. So load up on colorful fruits, diverse vegetables, legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Variety is key.
Lots of plants, lots of variety. What should we limit?
Definitely limit processed foods. They often lack fiber and beneficial compounds and can contain additives that might harm the gut. Also, generally avoid diets high in unhealthy fats, like saturated and trans fats. The Mediterranean diet often gets recommended because it naturally emphasizes these principles. Lots of plants, healthy fats, lean protein.
Mediterranean diet. Okay. Now, probiotics and prebiotics, we hear those terms a lot. Can you break them down?
Sure. Probiotics are live beneficial bacteria that, when you consume them in adequate amounts, provide a health benefit. You get them from food or supplements. They help balance the microbiome, improve digestion, boost immunity, reduce inflammation. And research is even suggesting broader benefits like potential anti-cancer activity and maybe slowing diseases like Alzheimer's.
Okay, so where do we find these good bacteria in food? Fermented foods.
Exactly. Fermented foods are fantastic natural sources. Yogurt and kefir are classics, packed with lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. Kefir, the fermented milk drink, is often considered even more potent because it usually has a wider range of bacteria and yeasts. Plus, the microbes in kefir help break down lactose. So many lactose-intolerant people can handle it. Yogurt consumption is linked to reduced risks of certain cancers, type 2 diabetes, better heart health. It's great stuff. Kefir's name actually comes from a Turkish word for good feeling.
Good feeling. I like that.
What else?
Sauerkraut, fermented cabbage, and kimchi, spicy Korean fermented cabbage, are powerhouses, packed with probiotics, fiber, vitamins. Just make sure you buy unpasteurized versions from the refrigerated section to get the live microbes. Kimchi specifically has been linked to better insulin sensitivity and lower cholesterol.
Unpasteurized. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Other good ones: kombucha, fermented tea, but watch the sugar content on labels. Tempeh and miso. Fermented soybeans, great protein and probiotic sources, especially for plant-based eaters. Even apple cider vinegar, ACV. The cloudy mother contains beneficial bacteria. Adding a splash to salad dressings is an easy way in.
ACV2. Interesting.
And a couple of others. Aged garlic extract has shown promise for increasing gut diversity. Collagen-boosting foods like bone broth or salmon skin provide amino acids that help maintain the gut lining integrity. So that's probiotics, the live bacteria. Now, prebiotics are just as crucial, maybe even more so sometimes.
Prebiotics. They're the food for the bacteria.
Exactly. Think of prebiotics as the fuel or fertilizer for your beneficial gut bacteria, especially bifidobacteria and lactobacilli. They're non-digestible dietary fibers. They travel through your upper gut untouched, then reach the colon where your microbes ferment them. This fermentation lets the good guys thrive and produce those amazing short-chain fatty acids like butyrate that nourish your gut cells and reduce inflammation.
Okay, so we need to feed the good guys. What are the best prebiotic foods?
Excellent sources include garlic, onions, and leeks. Besides fiber, they have sulfur compounds with other health benefits. Asparagus and Jerusalem artichokes, rich in a prebiotic fiber called inulin. Less ripe, greenish bananas. They contain resistant starch, which acts as a prebiotic. As they ripen, it turns to sugar, so greener is better for this.
Green bananas, okay.
Oats and barley, especially steel-cut oats, great sources of beta-glucan fiber. Apples, thanks to their pectin fiber, which also helps lower cholesterol. And a fantastic group: legumes, beans, peas, chickpeas, lentils. They're packed with resistant starch, protein, vitamins, minerals, fiber. Microbes love them.
Legumes, got it. Anything else?
Yes. Also polyphenols. These are compounds found in many colorful fruits, vegetables, tea, coffee, dark chocolate. They also act as prebiotics, encouraging beneficial bacteria. Just one note of caution: if you're increasing prebiotic foods, do it slowly. Too much too fast can cause gas, bloating, discomfort while your gut adjusts. And drink plenty of water with increased fiber. Also, check labels on processed foods. Sometimes they add prebiotic ingredients like chicory root, inulin, or psyllium husk. It's good to be aware of both natural and added sources.
Slowly increase. Drink water. Got it. This is all incredibly empowering. It feels like we're entering a new era. Looking ahead now, what innovative interventions are researchers exploring? Could we actually cure some of these complex diseases by manipulating the microbiome? Maybe even live longer, healthier lives?
It's a hugely exciting frontier, absolutely. Researchers are moving beyond diet and lifestyle into really targeted microbiome therapies. It's a new wave of medicine. One of the most advanced and maybe most talked about is fecal microbiota transplantation, or FMT. Sounds a bit shocking, but it's essentially a wholesale transfer of a healthy microbial community from a screened donor to a patient. The goal is to restore a functional, balanced ecosystem.
Wholesale transfer.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds dramatic.
Right.
What does it involve and does it actually work?
It sounds dramatic, and it kind of is. It involves transferring processed stool material containing the full microbial community from donor to recipient. And yes, it works remarkably well for one specific condition: recurrent Clostridium difficile infection, or RCDI. This is a nasty, often antibiotic-resistant gut infection. FMT has success rates getting around 92% for RCDI. It's a lifesaver for those patients and now recommended as a second-line treatment.
92%. That's incredible for C. diff. What else is it being tested for?
It's being actively investigated for a whole range of things. For IBD, especially ulcerative colitis, there are promising phase 2 and 3 trials ongoing. For IBS, studies show it can reduce symptoms like bloating and offer long-term improvements. The list goes on. Autoimmune disorders, some allergies, metabolic issues like obesity, even potentially boosting the effectiveness of cancer immunotherapy. Delivery methods are evolving too. It can be done via endoscope, special tubes, or even capsules now, making it more accessible.
Capsules, that's much less dramatic. Are there risks, though?
Yes, definitely considerations. Safety is paramount. There's a theoretical risk of transmitting undetected infections from the donor, which is why donor screening is incredibly rigorous, and samples are stored carefully. There's also a possibility of immune reactions in the recipient or unpredictable outcomes because everyone's microbiome is unique. Interestingly, some people have even reported weight gain after FMT, showing just how powerful that microbial influence on metabolism is. Future directions involve combining FMT with specific diets, trying to make it even more targeted and effective for conditions like UC.
Combining FMT with diet.
Yeah.
Okay. What else is on the horizon besides FMT?
Another really exciting area is next-generation or personalized probiotics, or NGPs. These aren't your typical off-the-shelf probiotics. They're being developed as pharmaceuticals. The idea is targeted reseeding using specific novel strains or carefully designed cocktails of bacteria to fill functional gaps or correct specific imbalances in person's microbiome. It's moving towards precision medicine.
Personalized probiotics. That sounds like the ultimate goal. How are they different?
Well, they offer huge potential for tailoring treatments, although true one-to-one customization is still complex and costly right now. They often use advanced tech like synthetic biology or gene editing to create strains with enhanced abilities. They can be designed to produce specific beneficial compounds like SCFAs or antimicrobial peptides, modulate bile acids, outcompete pathogens, strengthen the gut barrier, or even fine-tune immune responses by interacting with specific immune cells like T cells and B cells.
So very targeted actions. Are there specific examples already?
Yes, research is identifying promising candidates. For instance, Fig Helicobacterium prasnitzi is known to boost an anti-inflammatory signal called IL-10. Certain lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains, like L. acidophilus B. lactis, show promise for IBS symptoms. Others, like L. rhamnosus, L. plantarum, L. reuteri, are being studied for reducing gut inflammation and permeability. S. thermophilus for IBS and lactose digestion. There's even a newer one, Blauti producta D4, that help with colitis in mice by reducing inflammation and restoring balance. It's about finding the right microbial key for the specific disease log.
Finding the right key.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think you mentioned one other therapy.
Right, phage therapy. This is actually a re-emerging field using bacteriophages viruses that specifically infect and kill bacteria. It's incredibly precise.
Viruses that kill bacteria?
Exactly. Think of them like guided missiles targeting only specific pathogenic or pro-inflammatory bacteria, unlike broad-spectrum antibiotics that wipe out good bacteria too. It's being tested preclinically and in early trials for fighting antibiotic-resistant infections. It also holds potential for conditions like Crohn's disease or certain liver diseases linked to those pathobionts. We discussed the microbes that turn bad. The specificity is the key advantage.
Guided missiles. That's quite the image.
Yeah.
This is truly mind-blowing stuff. From diet changes to these targeted therapies, the future seems so linked to our gut. And this last idea, could our gut microbiome genuinely hold secrets to living longer, healthier lives, healthy longevity? That's captivating.
It really is, and it's one of the most intriguing areas right now. Studies looking at centenarians, people living healthily to 100 or more, have found some fascinating patterns. These exceptionally long-lived individuals often have significantly more diverse gut bacteria and viruses, their virome, compared to younger adults or even other older adults.
And more diverse bacteria and viruses is linked to living longer. Why would that be?
That's the million-dollar question. The current thinking is that this diverse gut virome somehow enhances the functions of the bacteria themselves. It seems to improve their detoxification abilities and makes various biochemical processes in the gut more efficient. Basically, a richer viral community might make the bacterial community more robust, more resilient, better at maintaining overall health.
So the viruses help the bacteria work better.
That seems to be the implication. So the really exciting idea here is that understanding, and maybe one day improving, the diversity of both our gut bacteria and viruses could genuinely contribute to strategies for healthy aging. Not just extending lifespan, but crucially extending health span more healthy years. It opens up a whole new perspective.
Wow. This deep dive has certainly unpacked a universe within us. We've gone from defining this intricate microbiome ecosystem to seeing its profound impact on, well, everything: physical health, mental health, mood, disease risk like obesity, heart disease, IBD, IBS, even celiac, and then exploring these incredible future therapies and this mind-bending link to healthy longevity. It's truly remarkable. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that we're not just us, we're complex ecosystems. So next time you think about your health, maybe pause and consider those trillions of tiny residents working away inside you. From the food you choose to how you handle stress or prioritize sleep, you have this amazing daily opportunity to shape that inner world. So what will you do today to nourish your inner ecosystem? How might that simple choice shape your future health? Maybe even unlock your own healthy longevity. Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.